Hi, today we're going to paint a sunny summer owl coloring book rock painting. In the previous video, we drew out this design, and now we're going to paint it. I'm using a yellow Posca pen, but you can easily use acrylic paints. For the branches and the leaves, I'm using brown and green respectively. As always, a complete listing of the supplies I'm using will be in the description below, as well as some helpful suggestions, so check it out. In order to save you some viewing time, this tutorial has been sped up. No way do I paint this fast. When I'm painting, I'm taking my time, getting things just right, breathing, because holding my breath as I'm painting doesn't work. So as you're painting, take your time, breathe, listen to some music if you want, and enjoy the process. I'm using the same color of yellow that I used in the feathers of the owl for the rays of the sun, because I wanted to tie in the sunniness of the sun itself with the sunniness of the owl. Well, they have various layers on top of both the rays of the sun and the feathers, but I wanted to have the base color the same. And of course, color in the face of the sun. Now, don't worry about going over the lines. As we complete the stone, we'll redraw them in. That's one of the things I like about painting a coloring book rock. You can go outside of the lines and everything will be great in the end. No one will ever know. I'm using a white Posca pen to paint in the face of the owl. If the point gets a little gunky, just wipe it on a paper towel or a clean piece of paper. For the flower, I'm using pink for the petals and red for the center. I chose these colors because they contrast the green in the leaves and will make the flowers pop even more, and they work well with the yellow in the sun and the owl. For the second layer of the feathers, I'll be using Salvador's Azo Yellow Medium. I mix in a little bit of Golden's Glazing Medium, so I'll have a bit more open time in order to work with the paint. Depending upon the weather where you're at, you may not need the increased open time for the glazing medium, but I live in the Midwest, so during the summer it tends to be very humid. In addition to the open time improvement, another benefit of the glazing medium is that it thins out the pigment of the paint without thinning out the paint itself, just the saturation. With a little bit of the glazing medium, I'm mixing in primary yellow with just a tad bit of white to increase the opacity of the yellow. I've got to apologize here. Some of the detail work of painting in the feathers and the face and some of the work on the leaves and flowers disappeared. I have no idea how it was deleted. I'll include a link to the St. Patrick's Day owl, and much of the detail that was lost will be presented in that video, and I apologize completely. I've mixed in ultramarine blue with titanium white to begin work on the sky. I could have painted in the sky before I drew anything in, but I wanted to give you an idea of what you would need to do if you wanted to paint in the sky around the lines of a coloring book illustration. Just take it slow and you'll be fine. The majority of the sky is done, but I wanted to blend out some of the blue into the white using a makeup sponge. I wanted to smooth out any kind of paint strokes, and a makeup sponge is great for that. I'm adding contrast using the ultramarine blue and a little bit of white in order for the owl, the branch, and the leaves and flower to pop out even more. This dance between light and dark always goes on in your painting and adds visual interest and drama to your paintings. Now we get to redraw some of the line work that got painted over with both the Posca pens and the acrylics to make everything stand out even more. If you've enjoyed this video, please subscribe for more rock painting videos containing even more tips, ideas, and suggestions. And then hit the bell notification so you won't miss out. And again, remember, this video has been sped up, so when you're drawing in the lines, take your time. There's not a rush. I like to vary the weight of the line drawing. It's kind of like you have a drawing within a drawing. I like to use a slightly thicker line on the outside, like maybe a micron 8 or a 5. And then when I'm drawing in the fine details within the drawing itself, I like to decrease the size of the line to like maybe either a 3 or a 5. This difference between the line weight adds more dimension to your piece. One of the things that I like to do is to add little embellishments, such as these triangles. These little details add dimension. Painting in the eyelid, I'm using a little bit of the azo yellow mixed with yellow ochre, and I decided to paint in the triangles. To add even more contrast, I'm adding a bit more ultramarine blue to around the leaves and tree branch. More depth is always good. I'm adding in a bit of white to tighten it up a bit, to push back some of the blue. I'm going to mix up a little bit of ultramarine blue and burnt umber to create a nice dark shadow color to fill in the sunglasses of the sun. Time to redraw the smile of the sun. And I'm going to use the same dark shadow color around the tree, leaves, and flowers to give them a bit more natural, lifelike appearance. And then I'm going to use the same color combination, maybe a little bit more burnt umber this time. And I'm going to lighten this up a little bit to give highlight contrast color to the branch. All of this will enable the branch to appear more lifelike and real. Although, to be honest, the more dimensionality you give to your painting, the better. And since I love my dots, I'm adding some dots to the base of the neck. Not a whole lot, but just enough to make a difference. And now that the branch is dried, I'm re-inking it. And again, this is sped up, so take your time. And I don't know if you know this about me, but I love metallics. Gold, silver, bronze. This time it's gold. And applying a little bit of dot work here on each of the feathers. I'm using a gold Sharpie pen. I've got a Posca pen on order, but it hasn't gotten here yet. I'm adding a thin line at each of the bases of the rays. It's one of those embellishments I was talking about. And I'm outlining the back and side of the rock painting using a thin gold border. I do this because to me it seems to connect the whole piece together. It's kind of like framing the rock painting as you would frame canvas. I've waited for the gold to dry, and now I'm relining where I applied the gold. Time to work on the eyes again, using a combination of the azo yellow and a little bit of yellow ochre. I'm working on the pupils, and then adding a little bit of a white dot to the pupils. I'm adding a little dimension to the beak and the white dots, as I mentioned earlier, to give them a bit more life. Redefining the eyelids and adding some eyelashes. And because I want to have the shades have a little bit of depth, I'm adding some highlights to them as well. And let's not forget to sign our rock, our new masterpiece, to proudly show it off to family and friends. Celebrate each other, celebrate your inner creative voice, and paint along the way.